Hey guys, what's up? And I know it's an odd angle. I really need to get a tripod for this freaking camera. No, scratch that. I need to find the tripod I used to have for this freaking camera. Anyway. Gothatfunk had a 5-question challenge, which I did a video for, obviously, because it's the last video I have on YouTube before I put this one up. He answered my questions with some really good answers, by the way, and I'm still laughing over that whole barbarian Jedi thing. Yeah. And also, as far as cornbread goes, dude, just send me your address and I'll send you a couple of boxes, okay? I don't think it's going to be that hard for me to ship those over. Anyway. But now it's time for me to answer some questions, and you sent me some really good ones. Yeah. It's taken me a while to ponder some of these. I was like, whoa. Like, some of them I can answer kind of like sort of quickly, though it takes a little background explanation. And others I'm still sort of musing over. But, yeah, these were good questions. They definitely were fun to think about. So, let's get on with it. So, question 1 is on song choices. Basically, I guess this is sort of like the fiction one. I had asked, what work of fiction, helped to influence you. The Prophet, by the way, is a good pick. That's actually one of my favorite books. Now you're asking me for what song had influenced, my worldview. And this one's kind of hard because, as anybody who's watched my older videos can guess, I'm a major lover of music. I've listened to all types, and music's one of those things that kind of, especially if you listen to it a lot, music's one of those things that kind of marks off certain time periods in your life. There's a song for almost every occasion. It's like when you hear, that's why certain nostalgic songs, when you hear it, it takes you back to when you were younger or to a particular moment in time. There's a certain, we tend to match music with certain time periods and certain events. So it was hard for me to select one. And then I thought very carefully about your question, and I realized that you're basically asking for what helped to influence how I think about the world now, not just simply something that marked off a time period. If I was just thinking about something that marked off a time period, well, we'd be here all day, because I'd be naming song after song after song. But then, we're talking about songs that influenced my thinking or influenced how I see the world, and that narrowed things down a bit, though there were still a lot of songs. I mean, we can go with Nas's It Ain't Hard to Tell, or we can go with K Solo's King of the Mountain, which actually is a runner-up for what I think is a song that influenced me, because it did. If you haven't heard that one yet, guys, yeah, check that one out, though. Considering how hard it is to find K Solo albums these days, yeah, try to hunt that one down. But I think, in light of everything and thinking about how my life is going now and the direction I've been putting it into in my philosophy, I'm going to have to go with Bob Marley's Ambush in the Night. For those of you who haven't heard it, look it up. You can find it on YouTube, and you can easily find the lyrics online. It's a song that, if you listen to the lyrics, it kind of I heard this song when I was really young. And even then, I was kind of struck with the picture it was painting. I got the image in my head of somebody who knows how corrupt governments can be and how easily, how corrupt governments can get. It's a tool, but it can get corrupted by, unscrupulous people. And how easily the masses can be tricked by these unscrupulous people, even to the point where they will help them strike down someone who is trying to wake them up with all the bullshit that's around them. I mean, listen to the first chorus, because the chorus actually changes its lyrics. First you hear it one way, then you hear it, it's just in a refrain. The first part is amazing. It goes, ambush in the night, all guns aiming at me. Ambush in the night, they hold and fire on me now. It's basically like, it describes, an assassination attempt, and apparently that's something that actually almost did happen to Marley at some point, which the song could be referring to. But it just kind of painted this picture of, there's a system of law and order that's maybe not working for people's benefits. But people are fooled into thinking it's working for their benefit. And worse, they allowed to be, divided and conquered, to tearing each other apart for resources and for food and others, while other people's laugh with their excess. So yeah, if I had to pick one song, I guess that's the one I'd pick. Anyway, I spent too much time on that question. Time to move on to the next one. Next one's about a biopic being made on my life. And I have to pick the actors who would play my mother, my father, my wife, my best friend, and myself. This wasn't easy, especially since I'm not one of those people that actively follow actors. I know several of my friends can, right off the bat, they start naming actors' names off and talking about their careers and how good they are. I'm not one of those people. Sorry. If I watch a movie, I watch a movie. If the actor's good, okay, yeah, he's good. And that's it. I don't follow careers. So, you'd have to be really, really notable, whether good or bad, for me to know who you are as an actor. And even a couple of favorites of mine, I don't necessarily know their names. So, this was kind of hard. Really hard. And to make matters worse, because I'm not, as much as I like movies, I'm not a major moviegoer, especially since I'm broke, so I don't have time to keep going to theaters all the time, looking stuff up. And I sometimes also, Redbox is a bit of a godsend since I can rent movies now for $1, but even then, sometimes I don't even have the buck to rent that. So, a lot of movies I know are old. And many of the actors I would have picked are dead, or retired, or too old to play these parts. So, yeah, this took some thinking and a bit of research on actors' names and their histories and stuff like that, since, like I said, I don't follow actors all that well. And I finally came up with a list of names. Got the list here. Had to write them down. And, yeah, these are the names I came up with. When I came up with these names, when I finally settled on these names, I looked at acting experience, I looked at the roles that they played, and I looked at whether or not I felt they could actually play the parts of these people. And I tried to, of course, pick characters who I thought looked as much as the people as possible, but that actually wasn't my main criteria. It was kind of like the second or third criteria. So in some cases, there are going to be some people who don't look exactly like their counterparts. They look close enough, but, some people, like in fact, the first person I'm going to mention doesn't really look that much like my mom, looks somewhat close, but whatever. Let me get on with it. First choice is my mom. And this one took a while, because a lot of the people who I felt would play the part and look like my mom are too old or dead. And then it just took some searching, looking up movies and stuff like that, and I finally narrowed it down to 2 people. But before I mention who those 2 people are and then who the person I finally decided to settle on, first I gotta mention what my mom is like. Most people just about all people who've met my mom are all like, she's the sweetest person I've ever met. She's such a happy personality, and she's so loving and thoughtful, and she cares for people. But those who've known her for a long time also notice that she has a little bit of an attitude to her also. And she's my mom. I've lived with her for a long time, and she helped raise me. So I can tell you right off the bat, yes, she is sweet and loving and caring, but there's a don't fuck with me attitude that is lurking under there as well. And if you happen to set it off, I feel for you, and may the Lord have mercy on your soul. So with that in mind, I narrowed this down to 2 people. Jada Pinkett Smith and Angela Bassett. Both those actresses I feel could play the role pretty damn well and give off that level of sweet, but then at the same time, don't fuck with me. But I can only pick one actress to play the role. So after a whole lot of mental wrangling and, discussing it with my wife back and forth, we finally decided, you know what? Fuck it. We'll go with Angela Bassett. I think she has a little bit more experience in, I guess, playing the more motherly type roles. But keep in mind that, if I couldn't pick, I guess, Angela Bassett, I would definitely pick take it as a very, 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 very close second because, well, I think she could play the part. I really could. Both of them could play the part, but I guess, I guess I'd lean a little, just a teensy bit more to a Bassett, I guess. On to my dad. This was also another really hard choice because I couldn't really think of, at first anyway, I couldn't really think of anybody who would be able to play him. My father is a bit of a complex guy. If you're wondering where I get my love of researching things and reading things and critical thought and all that, my dad. The one thing about my dad, however, is that he has a bit of a temper. Yeah. And there are certain things that he has fixed on his mind. While he is a bit of a critical thinker, there are some things that he happens to hold fast to without really giving it the same critical eye. He's a bit of a complex dude, so you need somebody who'd be able to play complex characters or at least know how to character act really, really well. Which, once I thought of it that way, pretty much only gave me one choice. Don Cheadle, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. If you've looked at all the different roles that that man has played, you'd realize that this guy can play characters very well. He's a very good character actor, which means that he would play my dad really well. I'm pretty sure he can also, since he plays characters very, very well and can go into different accents, he can pick up my father's Haitian accent really well. So, yeah, Don Cheadle would play my dad. For my wife, this took some digging. I needed to pick somebody smart enough and quirky enough to play the role and also have a little bit of a rebellious streak to her as well. Somebody who can play all those characters. And after doing a hell of a lot of digging, as well as also picking somebody who would look somewhat like my wife, I finally settled on Kristen Vagnes, the one who plays as Penelope in that drama Criminal Minds. I think she could do the part well. I don't watch Criminal Minds, so I couldn't say, but from the little bit of clips I saw and from the interviews I've seen her in, I think she could do it. I think she could play my wife really, really well. My wife also liked the decision, so there we go. Now on the best friend. This was tough because I have several people who I would consider a best friend in the sense that I know if any shit went down, they'd have my back in an instant. They're very, very close to me and my wife, and in some cases, they're considered family. So, yeah, they would fit the best friend role. So only picking one person was kind of rough, so I kind of cheated a little bit and went with 3 people. Hope you don't mind. First person's a friend of mine named Amber. And this was a fairly easy choice, one of the easier ones I had to pick. Fairuza Balk would definitely play her. For those of you who don't remember who she is, think the antagonist in The Craft, or the girlfriend interest in American History X, or the love interest in, I believe, Waterboy. Yeah, her. Yeah, I know, she plays crazy fucking roles, but that's just the thing. The person who she's going to be playing... Okay, the best friend I'm talking about isn't crazy. Okay, she's not that bombastically, like she'll just suddenly fly off the handle like that. But she's sort of chaotic. Kind of like me. We both have a bit of chaotic streak. And to give you an idea, her favorite mythological god is Loki, okay? Seriously, she loves Loki, if that gives you any idea of the personality of the person I'm talking about. So, and then not only that, but she also has a bit of a fragile side to her. She's gone through some shit, which I don't care to discuss on the camera because, well, it's not my story to tell, but suffice to say she's gone through a hell of a lot of shit which I wouldn't really want on somebody else. So I would need an actress who can play both fragile and strong and rebellious with a little side of manic. And that would be Fairuza Balk. I'm pretty sure she could play that role. Next up is Kevin Biomech, who I do consider as a really good friend. Even though we've really only corresponded on YouTube, but since then we've corresponded on Skype, we've corresponded on the phone. And while I will say that our political philosophies differ in some ways, ultimately we tend to jive really well, and we both tend to like the same things, and we both like intellectualizing, and we both, when we do start talking, it'll be like 3 fucking hours later and we realize, shit, we need to go to bed. So yeah, he would definitely fit. And he was also a bit of an easy choice, though if he's watching this right now, I don't know whether he's going to laugh at this choice or not or whatever, but who I would pick for Kevin? Edward Norton. No contest. Edward Norton would play him. I don't know if you're going to disagree with that, Kevin, but I see him playing you. I see him being able to do it. Next up is a friend of mine named Nick. You guys don't know him, but you've seen him. In fact, if you go to my channel and you look at the video I have featured right now, the dude who I'm crossing blades with, that's Nick. Really good swordsman, really quirky guy, very interesting philosophy, very interesting personality as well. He's into spiritual things as well as... It's weird. If ever there was somebody who in another life would be a priest slash highwayman, that would be Nick. I know that makes no sense, but it would make sense if you met Nick. And this took a little bit of thinking and wrangling, and I really couldn't think of who it would be until my wife came up with a suggestion. And at first I was exactly, I wasn't, gung-ho for the idea, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized it kind of fit. Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman is my friend Nick. It could work. He's a bit of a character actor. He seems to really love playing fun roles, and if you're going to be playing as my friend Nick, it would be a fun role. Hugh Jackman it is. So, oh yeah, then we got to pick me. Yeah, this also took a while. I guess there's a little bit of vanity's sake in making sure that you pick somebody who you think could play you really well. But honest to say, from me looking over all the shit that I went through in my life so far and the different philosophical angles I took even as a child, I would, need somebody who'd be willing to go through the whole range of different emotions and angles and events that I went through, as well as my more bitter loner lifestyle that I led from 16 all the way up to, 25, 26. So after some thinking, going over different names, looking over the people who can no longer play me, looking at people who I thought could play me but ended up being too freaking tall or whatever, I finally decided on Lorenz Tate. And this was after a suggestion by, interestingly enough, my friend Amber, because she was the one who, I mentioned this to her, and she was like, I'd pick Lorenz Tate. And I'm like, really? And then I looked at the movies he was in, because I've seen a couple of his movies, and the guy has a good acting range, and I think he could do it. He's even close to my height. I know a lot of people say he's too damn short, but he's actually half an inch shorter than I am. He's not that short. I'm 5'7". He's like 5'6.5". He could do it. I think he could do it. I can't think of anyone else, to be honest with you. So Lorenz Tate it is. But, and I guess also, well, you can't really pick, Lorenz can't play me as a kid. So if I had to pick a kid, please don't laugh, guys, but it was the only person I can think of. Jaden Smith. The kid has proven to me that he can act in that new Karate Kid movie. Plus, the kid does know martial arts, and I was into martial arts when I was a kid. Didn't really know anything yet. I copied stuff from movies as a kid, but I copied it really fucking well. Actually, I don't consider myself being a decent martial artist until I was 19 years old. Well, no, I shouldn't even say decent martial arts. I didn't consider myself a proper student of martial arts until I was 19. He's not 19 yet, but when I was younger, I was at least able to, spin kick with the best of them. So, yeah, Jaden Smith, as me as a kid, Lorenz Tate afterwards. So, yeah. So this moves on to the next question. What would be the most interesting event in the biopic?